Today's video, we're going to be turning this into this. We're going to make your own Euro mount at home today. It's pretty easy. All you need is a few simple tools and you can make your own Euro mount at home. Stick around and let me show you how to do that. Thing before we get into it. My wife, she makes these custom Euro mount plaques. She can engrave anything you want down here, date your harvest, locations. Comes with a bracket in the back. This is solid walnut, shaped into an arrowhead, but I'm gonna put the link in the description. Let's just get right into the video. Okay, so you got your trophy whitetail deer here. Sorry my head's cut off a little bit, but kind of wanted to just make it so everyone could see what I was doing here to get the head prepared for the Euro mount. So basically I'm just set up on a little table here with a piece of cardboard. Basically all you're gonna need to skin this head out is a sharp knife and some gloves. The gloves aren't really for the blood or anything. It's really meant for if I slip with a knife, it doesn't cut my hand. So let's just get right into it here. So I might speed up the camera here a little bit. Just to see how as I work, and I'll probably do a voiceover of what I'm doing here. But it's pretty simple. As long as you have a sharp knife, this should go fairly quickly. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little voiceover here. So you got your deer head, and just basically making an incision in the back of the head, and work around the ear. And you'll see in a second here, I make a slit from basically the nose up through the middle of the antlers to the back where the neck was. And then I just work around the jaw, and then I take off the ear. But I basically break this up in sections. I like to just basically do everything in half, and then you see here I'm working on the other side. Just put your knife just under the skin and just keep working that fur, and it eventually comes off. You're not gonna do any damage. All the bones, everything are pretty sturdy at this point, so you're not gonna really break anything. But just working your knife, see just underneath that cape there, working around the eye and the jawbone. But yeah, and there goes the other ear, and then I'm gonna basically go down the jawline here. Just keep a little bit of the cape on there, just have something to hold on to and pull as I'm working my knife. Like I said before in the beginning of this, you definitely want a sharp knife to cape out the deer heads here. And then once you basically get all the fur off, you want to get up underneath those antlers, which I'll see. That's probably the trickiest part, just getting up under the antlers where the fur is. So it's not too complicated. Take your time. Don't cut yourself. You're really not going to do any damage here to the Euro mount at all. Just you want to get off as much flesh as you can, all the meat that you can as you're doing this. It'll make the boiling process a lot easier. But there's nothing really to it. If you've skinned any sort of animal before, or even if you haven't before, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Just take your time and you'll get it. Like I said, you have a sharp knife and it makes the job a lot easier. Here I'm just working around the nose, getting the nose cleaned up. And then I think you're gonna see here in a second, basically if you need to get that bottom jaw off. So you grab the head and basically just pull the jaw downward, and it will free itself. Just gotta loosen up the ligaments and tendons around the jawbone area. Just cut those off, and then when you pull down the jaw will come right off. So that's not too bad there. And then you gotta work at the back of the skull. You'll see there's a little bit of piece of the neck left where the last vertebrae is. And then basically you'll find it and use your knife to whittle in between the vertebrae, and you'll be able to wiggle that last bit of neck out. But yeah, you just want to clean this up as much as you can. Like I was saying before, just work around those antlers is a pain. And see, yeah, just it's hard, but like I said, take your time and we'll let this one play out. Just want to jump in here right now. You'll just see I took off the bottom jaw. You'll notice it's gone. And right here, I'm working on the neck and the back, getting the last vertebrae off. And that's pretty much it. So basically just grab a hold of that bottom jaw and give it a yank down and it will come off. Okay, so we got that bottom jaw off. And then we just keep plucking away. You keep cleaning this up. Take this rear bone off here. We're almost there. we'll get it cleaned up and I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll be ready to boil. Okay, I would say this skull is ready for the boil. Took off the rest of the neck that was here. I took out the bottom jaw, and I took out as much as I could. And a lot of this will just come off, obviously, during the boiling process. But let's just get to boiling. All right, it's boiling day. So you got your propane tank. We have our turkey fryer set up, and just a bucket that we're gonna put our deer head in. So let's just get some water put in here. Gonna add some water in here, and we're also gonna be adding, just eyeball some Dawn in there. You really wanna get this water full of that suds and degreaser. That should be good. And then let's get the head prepared for boiling. The items we're gonna need here is some Dawn dish soap. This is the secret ingredient to getting that grease and fat and meat off your skull while you're simmering. Some cling wrap, some saran wrap, and some electrical tape. And our deer head's in that bag for now, and we're just gonna get this fired up. Just do that right now if we can. Let's just go over, turn the gas on, and gas is coming out. Ignition. So we'll start heating up this water. Okay, so to prepare for the boil, I like to take some saran wrap, just get it under that pedicle of the antler. And sorry for the noise in the background. But then I take some electrical tape just to hold everything in place. Once this goes into warm water, I think the saran wrap shrinks and it'll help cling. Basically what this does is just prevent any bleaching to the antlers. I like to keep everything the way it was on the day of harvest, so I don't lose any of that natural state of the antler. So this just protects the bottom part of the antler. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but just get it up underneath there, and we're almost ready for the boil. And I would like to say, when I say boil, you're only simmering this water. You're only simmering it on very, very low heat. You don't want to boil because these bones are so brittle that if you boil, they're gonna fall apart and crumble when you go to clean it. So you just want to simmer it. So I'll show you, about the temperature of the water is and what that looks like in a minute here, and let's get this thing inside the water. All right, we got the deer head submerged in here. Just use a little bit of twine just to wrap around the edge, and then I just get the water just over the top. I'm gonna add a little bit of water just to cover the top of the head there, and you can see basically the water is just underneath that pedicle, and the water is just gonna be at a simmer. We're not gonna boil. We're heating up the water now, so once it starts to boil, I'm gonna turn this way down, that flame, just to keep it warm. And we're gonna simmer for about 3 hours or so, and then we'll see how it looks. And we're gonna clean it up, and I'll show you some tricks like that, what we're gonna do to get this cleaned up. So like I said, wrap around saran wrap. I'm gonna add a little bit of water get over the top of the cap there, and we should be good to go. Got a little bit of, just a little, like I said, a little bit of string, nothing fancy, just to hold that head up out of the water. So let's get the boiling, and then we're gonna check back in about 3 hours or so. So you got your skull out of the boil, and I think we boiled it maybe a little too long. They're a little fragile. See these nose pieces right here? They get a little, see how it's loose? But if you were to break off this nose, don't panic. You can glue them back together. So let's just get to clean this out. So when you take it out of the water, you can see a lot of this meat just comes right off. See, it just peels right off of there. That's how you know you've boiled enough. So you want to be kind of gentle, just work it out. See, these bones down here are really fragile. So a lot of times they break off, these down here. But just want to get removing everything you can. See, it just falls right out. It's just falling right off the bone. There's some cartilage. Pull straight out. Take your pliers. So just watch me work here and just see, you know, some things I do. I got a trash bag just to collect all the nonsense that comes off of there, but I got a glove on just so I don't slip with this knife. But you can just watch me work here. I'm just gonna start pulling off this meat. You just want to keep working at it. It does take some time, but when you do this, just don't be in a rush. You know, take your knife and just pick off the meat. Like I was saying in the beginning of this video, you want to get as much of that meat off as you can when you're skinning it, because you can see now why that is. It just makes the cleaning process a little easier. If you boil too long, the teeth will start falling out. But I think we did all right. I think you want to grab on that piece of cartilage I just pulled out and get that nose as nice and clean. You want to pull as much as you can out of there. Like I said, don't be in a rush. Just keep picking. It'll come off. Just taking my tool here and just scraping. That's all I'm doing. Is just, you're not going to break anything here. Just see how the meat and everything's coming off. Hopefully you guys can see that. I think we did a perfect amount of boiling here, well, simmering, to get this meat nice and tender and have it fall right off. Get the eyeball here, pull that out. The pliers help just to get a grip on some things in there. People say it really smells really bad when you're doing this, but it honestly just smells like you just cooked meat, that's all. People think it, you know, really, I wouldn't do this in your house, obviously, the simmering part, but it's really not that bad. It just smells like just meat. Here's the rest of that eyeball. Gee, it's starting to look like a European mount already. Like I said, don't worry, these bones get a little loose, but just keep working at it. Just gonna keep working.
put your tool, so these are the ears right here with the ear holes. So you decide you need access to the brain. Take your tool, put it in there, and just pull down, and it breaks off the earbud. And that will allow us to get in there to clean out the brain. So just do it to the other side too, if you didn't see it. So there's the ear hole. Put your tool in and pull down. See how it just pops right out of there? Here's that bone right there. Just do it again to the other side. I think you can stick it in there, pull down. So it gives us access to clean out the brain. Alright, let's hit it with the garden hose. Just get this cleaned up a little bit more. See how we had the saran wrap that protected the pedicles here, just so they didn't turn color on us.
Okay, so after scraping for a little bit, we got the nasal passage cleaned out and all that meat removed. Let's show you what it looks like underneath. So basically, we just got to get everything cleaned up, the brains removed. So looking good. So next step is to put this in peroxide, hydrogen, just regular hydrogen peroxide, and that's going to help bleach it, and it's going to turn it completely white, and that'll be the final step. We're going to soak it for 24 hours. Then after that, it's going to be all set, and it's going to be ready to go. Okay, it's time to bleach the skull here. So all you need is like a little pan, aluminum pan, any type of old pan, and some regular old hydrogen peroxide. I think it's 3%. Yeah, if it focuses, 3%. So I'm going to fill, I got like 4 of these. I'm going to fill up as much as it goes, and then I'm going to show you my hot tip and hot trick on how to get this thing totally covered. And you really want to make sure when you're doing this that you don't, this hydrogen peroxide doesn't touch these antlers. If this peroxide sits on these antlers, it's going to bleach them. So we took all that time and effort to preserve the look of them. So let's try to keep it the way they were out in the field that day. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up this pan with hydrogen peroxide, and I'm going to show you my last tips and tricks here on how to get this thing fully covered and get it looking good. Okay, I got the hydrogen peroxide added, and you'll see just on the top of the skull, the line is right about here. So obviously you want to get the top of the head bleached. So my tip is, like I was saying, take some paper towels and just dunk them into the solution and let them sit on top of the skull. And you can see it's being pulled up over the skull, and it's going to make contact with that bone. So now I'm going to put paper towels just where underneath the pedicle and staying away from the antlers. So let me do that real quick. Okay, we got the paper towels on top of the skull here. So you can see the paper towels are pulling the peroxide right on top of the skull, and we're avoiding the antlers. So those will stay completely natural. They won't bleach out. So let this soak for 24 hours. You know, when you come by, splash a little bit on top, just make sure this is staying wet. But it should keep pulling the peroxide on top of the skull. And here's the end result of one I did last year. I mean, it turns out perfectly white. I mean, people will tell you need to paint on hydrogen peroxide 40, the salon peroxide. Really not necessary. Just regular old hydrogen peroxide, 3%, 24-hour soak. You're going to have a good looking Euro mount. So thanks again for tuning in, and may the wind always be in your favor.